Screams of shock and disbelief echoed through the grand chambers of the Galactic Council as news of the human colony's miraculous survival against the Riemann plasma weapon attack spread like a virus. Councillor Novak, the Raymond representative, slammed his fist on the ornate podium, his voice booming with rage and accusation. He demanded the humans be punished for their use of the banned weapons, even as reports flooded in of the colonists emerging unscathed from the deadly assault. Earth's diplomat, Kevin Powell, rose to defend his people, insisting they had acted purely in self-defense. Heated arguments erupted among the gathered alien races, some fearing the military advantage this shocking development gave humanity, while others called for an immediate probe into how the colonists obtained the illegal arms. Amidst the pandemonium, Powell found an unlikely ally in a small faction of counselors who urged caution and a search for the truth before any rash judgments were cast. But even as this tenuous alliance formed, sinister rumors began to circulate of a secret human organization, engineering genetic enhancements in its operatives, perhaps even immunity to the devastating plasma weapons. Fear and paranoia gripped the council. Humanity's motives and trustworthiness were called into question. Determined to salvage the situation, Powell convinced the council to form a special task force to investigate the Zephyrus incident, with himself as a key member. The stakes could not be higher. Evidence of genetic tampering or a human conspiracy could mean severe repercussions for Earth and its place among the stars. As Powell steeled himself for the mission ahead, an unshakable feeling haunted him that unseen forces were maneuvering events from the shadows for their own dark agendas. The fledgling alliance was already strained. The task force's findings would decide humanity's fate, and the eyes of the galaxy were now fixed squarely on the upstart humans who dared to defy the ancient order. As the Galactic Council chamber erupted into chaos, Councillor Powell found himself at the center of a maelstrom of accusations and suspicion. The shocking revelation of the human colony's immunity to the devastating Riemann plasma weapons had sent shockwaves throughout the gathered alien races, and now all eyes were fixed on the Earth diplomat, demanding answers he didn't have. Amidst the pandemonium, a voice of reason emerged from the cacophony. Councillor Zaraveros, the renowned Arcturian xenobiologist, called for calm and proposed the formation of an elite investigative team to uncover the truth behind the Zephyrus incident. Her suggestion was met with murmurs of agreement from the assembled counselors, and soon a diverse group of experts was assembled, each bringing their unique skills and knowledge to bear on the mystery. As the team began their investigation, analyzing the remnants of the Riemann plasma weapons, they made a startling discovery. The weapons were not of Riemann origin at all, but rather appeared to have been manufactured by a human corporation. This revelation sent a chill down Powell's spine as he realized the implications. If the colonists had access to such advanced and illegal armaments, it could mean that someone within the human government or military was working against the very peace they claimed to uphold. Digging deeper, the team uncovered a web of secret financial transactions and coded messages that seemed to implicate a shadowy human biotech firm known as Neogenesis. Long rumored to be involved in illicit genetic experimentation, the company had always managed to stay one step ahead of the law, but now the evidence was mounting that they may have developed a way to alter human DNA, to confer immunity to directed energy weapons. Commander Raul Sanchez, the grizzled human peacekeeper, took charge of a covert operation to infiltrate a hidden Neogenesis research facility, determined to uncover the truth. What they found there was beyond their worst nightmares, evidence of horrific experiments conducted on human test subjects, all in the name of creating the ultimate genetically enhanced soldier. As they sifted through the files and data retrieved from the facility, the team discovered references to a clandestine project codenamed Prometheus, a program aimed at creating a new breed of human super soldiers immune to the most advanced weapons in the galaxy. More disturbingly, the project seemed to be linked to a cabal of human supremacists who believed that humanity should rightfully rule over the other races. With tensions mounting and time running out, the team raced to expose the conspiracy and prevent the cabal's plans from coming to fruition. But even as they unraveled the secrets of Project Prometheus, they couldn't help but wonder what other genetically engineered abilities humanity might be developing in secret and what the consequences would be for the fragile peace that held the galaxy together. As Powell stood before the Galactic Council once more, presenting the evidence the team had uncovered, he knew that the stakes had never been higher. The fate of humanity, and perhaps the entire galaxy, hung in the balance. The Council would have to decide whether to trust in the better angels of human nature or to take drastic action to curtail the growing threat posed by Earth's unchecked ambitions. But even as the debate raged on, Powell couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. The secrets they had uncovered were just the tip of the iceberg, and there were still powerful forces at work behind the scenes, pulling the strings of fate. The only thing he knew for certain was that the path ahead would be fraught with danger and uncertainty, and that the decisions made in the coming days would echo through the ages to come. The encrypted files flashed across Tarek Vladikov's screen, each decrypted line revealing a truth more shocking than the last. His eyes widened as he pieced together the web of conspiracy connecting Neogenesis, Project Prometheus, and high-ranking government officials. "Powell, you need to see this," Tarek called, his voice tight with urgency. Counselor Kevin Powell leaned over Tarek's shoulder, scanning the damning communications. His mind focused as he read the name Senator Elias Croft, linked to human supremacist rhetoric and plans for galactic domination. "This goes beyond neogenesis," Powell muttered. "It's government-sanctioned." Commander Raul Sanchez paced behind them, his weathered face etched with concern. "We need hard evidence, something concrete to present to the Council." Powell nodded grimly. "We infiltrate Senator Croft's compound. It's risky, but it's our best shot at exposing this before it's too late." As the team prepared for their covert mission, an alert flashed on Tarek's console. "We've been compromised," he hissed. "Someone leaked our intel to Croft." The team barely had time to process this betrayal before alarms blared through the compound. Security forces swarmed the corridors, led by a towering figure with enhanced musculature and cold, calculating eyes, Captain Victor Kessler. Plasma bolts sizzled past Powell's head as he dove for cover. Sanchez returned fire, his precise shots downing 2 guards. But Kessler moved with inhuman speed, closing the distance in seconds. A sickening crunch echoed as Kessler's augmented fist connected with Sanchez's ribs. The commander crumpled, gasping for air. "Fall back!" Powell shouted, laying down suppressing fire as Tarek dragged the injured Sanchez to safety. They retreated empty-handed, the taste of failure bitter in their mouths. As news of the confrontation spread, the galactic community erupted into chaos. Fearful whispers of human genetic superiority fueled calls for sanctions and military buildup. Amidst the growing turmoil, Powell received an encrypted message from an unexpected source. Dr. Elena Novak, daughter of the very Riemann diplomat who had first condemned humanity's actions on Zephyrus. "Meet me at these coordinates," the message read. "I have information that will change everything." Powell's team convened in a dimly lit safe house, tension thick in the air. Dr. Novak's piercing gaze swept over them before she spoke. "The attack on Zephyrus was orchestrated," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "A ploy to accelerate Project Prometheus and justify human genetic enhancement." The revelation hit Powell like a physical blow. As he absorbed the implications, he realized the true scope of the conspiracy they faced, one that threatened not just humanity's place among the stars, but the very fabric of galactic society itself. With renewed drive, Powell and his team prepared to unravel the threads of this insidious plot. But as they delved deeper, they began to uncover hints of an ancient secret lurking beneath the surface, one that would shatter everything they thought they knew about humanity's role in the cosmos. Powell's mind raced as he processed Dr. Elena Novak's revelation. The attack on Zephyrus, a calculated ploy. His fingers trembled as he keyed in the secure comm code for Admiral Marcus Corvin. "Marcus, I need answers," Powell said, his voice low and urgent. "What do you know about Senator Croft's black ops?" A heavy sigh crackled through the line. "Kevin, you're treading dangerous waters," Corvin warned. "But there's something you should know about Cerberus Company." As Corvin spoke, Powell's blood ran cold. An elite unit of genetically enhanced soldiers, loyal only to Croft and his vision of human supremacy. The first fruits of Project Prometheus. That monster we encountered at Croft's compound, Powell realized. Kessler. He's one of them. They're deadliest, Corvin confirmed grimly. A sharp beep interrupted their conversation. Agent Jarova's eyes gleamed with triumph as she called out, "Counselor, I've traced a Cerberus communique. There's a meet scheduled on Arcos." Powell's mind focused. "We move now. Sanchez, you're with me." "Sir, my ribs," the commander began to protest. "I need your expertise," Powell cut him off. "Dr. Varos, prep those biotoxins of yours. We're going hunting." The spaceport on Arcos teemed with a cacophony of alien languages and the acrid smell of fuel. Powell's team moved with practiced stealth, blending into the crowd. Sanchez winced, favoring his injured side, but his eyes remained sharp. A flash of movement caught Powell's attention. Two figures in nondescript clothing, moving with unnatural grace. "There!" he hissed. The air erupted in plasma fire. Civilians scattered, screaming. Powell dove behind a cargo container, heart pounding. Sanchez rolled to cover, grimacing in pain, but returning fire with deadly accuracy. "Jarova! Varos!" Powell shouted over the comm. "Flank left!" A canister arced through the air, releasing a sickly green mist. One of the Cerberus operatives staggered, enhanced physiology succumbing to Varos's tailored toxin. In the chaos, Sanchez cornered a figure trying to flee. "Hold it right there," he growled, weapon trained on the alien's scaled hide. "You're our ticket to answers, Rigelian." As the dust settled, Powell's comlink crackled with urgent reports. Riemann ships striking human outposts in Theta Sector. Earth retaliating with horrifying new weapons. The galaxy teetering on the brink of war. "We need to move fast," Powell said, eyeing the captured Rigelian. "What's on that data core you're carrying?" The mercenary's reptilian eyes darted nervously. I don't know. I swear. I'm just the courier." "Well then," Powell's voice hardened, "you'd better start talking about who hired you, because right now you're our only lead to stopping this madness." As the interrogation began, Powell couldn't shake the feeling that they were running out of time. Somewhere out there, Croft's secret fleet was nearing completion, and when it launched, the galaxy would never be the same. Powell's comlink crackled with an urgent transmission. Admiral Marcus Corvin's face appeared, etched with dogged willpower. "Kevin, we're out of time. Croft's Cerberus fleet is prepping for launch from the Omega Rift shipyards. I'm mobilizing Galactic peacekeeper forces to blockade them." Powell's eyes widened. "Marcus, that's treason." "I know." Corvan's lips pursed. "But if we don't act now, this war will consume us all. My loyalist armada departs in 30 minutes. I need your team on the ground." As the transmission cut, Powell turned to his assembled team. Sanchez stood tall despite his injuries, while Dr. Varos checked her bioweapon canisters. Agent Jarova's fingers flew across her datapad, already plotting insertion routes. "We infiltrate the shipyards," Powell announced. "Disable those ships from within while Corvan's fleet engages from without." The team's stealth shuttle slipped past the rift's outer defenses, cloaked by an experimental scrambler of Dr. Varos's design. As they touched down on a shadowy maintenance dock, Sanchez took point, his enhanced vision scanning for threats. "Clear," he whispered, motioning the others forward. They moved swiftly through dark corridors, the distant hum of massive engines growing louder. Tarek's voice came through their earpieces, guiding them past security checkpoints. "Approaching the control nexus," Jarova reported. "Minimal resistance so far." As if on cue, a plasma bolt seared the air inches from Powell's head. A squad of Cerberus shock troopers emerged from concealed positions, their augmented forms towering over the infiltrators. "Down!" Sanchez roared, returning fire. Dr. Varos hurled a canister into the fray. It burst in a cloud of shimmering particles, and the Cerberus soldiers began to stagger, limbs seizing up. "Move!" Powell ordered, leading the charge past the immobilized troops. They burst into the command hub, only to find Captain Kessler waiting, a cruel smile on his face. "Welcome, Counselor," he sneered. "You're just in time for the end." Plasma fire erupted from all sides. Powell dove for cover as Sanchez engaged Kessler in a brutal close-quarters duel. Zharova sprinted for a nearby console, fingers flying as she attempted to breach Cerberus's command encryption. "Powell," she shouted over the din. "The data core, it's not just ship schematics, it's a bioweapon. They're planning galactic genocide." Kessler's laughter rang out as he grappled with Sanchez. "Did you really think mere supremacy was our goal? We will cleanse the stars of alien filth." A strangled cry cut through the chaos. Powell turned to see Zharova slumped to the floor, a smoking hole in her chest, but her eyes blazed with triumph as she gasped, "Encryption? Broken? Fleet? Disabled?" The hub's doors exploded inward. Admiral Corvin strode in, flanked by Peacekeeper commandos. Kessler snarled and lunged, but a barrage of stun bolts brought him down. As the smoke cleared, Powell surveyed the carnage. They'd won, but at a terrible cost. And as he met Corvin's grim gaze, he knew the real battle was just beginning. "The bioweapon plans," Powell said quietly, "they're still out there." Corvin nodded. "And Croft's ideology runs deeper than we imagined. We've stopped the fleet, but this is just getting started." Outside the viewport, disabled Cerberus ships drifted silently against the backdrop of stars. Powell's fists clenched as he contemplated the fragile peace they'd saved, and the forces still threatening to tear it apart. The dust settled in the aftermath of the Omega Rift confrontation. Powell stood before a holo display, his face grim as he addressed the assembled counselors and military leaders. "We've struck a blow against Croft's forces, but this fight is nowhere near the end," he said, his voice steady despite the exhaustion etched on his face. Dr. Elena Novak stepped forward, her piercing gaze sweeping the room. "Our intelligence suggests Croft has gone to ground, along with the surviving Cerberus operatives, but the true threat remains." Admiral Corvin's hologram flickered to life, his weathered face tight with concern. "The schematics for the doomsday bioweapon are still unaccounted for. If they fall into the wrong hands..." A murmur of unease rippled through the chamber. Powell raised a hand for silence. "We must act decisively," he declared. "Earth's interim government will be given an ultimatum: denounce Croft and surrender any co-conspirators or face the consequences." Days later, Earth's defiant response echoed through subspace channels. Powell watched from the bridge of the Peacekeeper flagship as the lockdown of human colonies began. Defensive grids hummed to life, sealing off system after system. "Economic sanctions are in place," Novak reported, her fingers dancing across a translucent interface. "But there's already pushback from..." A violent tremor rocked the ship. Alarms blared as Powell steadied himself against a console. "We're under attack," Sanchez shouted, his hands flying over tactical displays. "Multiple bogies, extreme stealth tech. They came out of nowhere." Powell's mind raced. "Nihil," he breathed, recalling intelligence briefings on Cerberus's most lethal operatives. Plasma fire erupted around them as cloaked assassins materialized on the bridge. Powell dove for cover, drawing his sidearm. He caught a glimpse of Sanchez grappling with a shadow-like figure before a searing pain exploded in his side. The world spun. Powell's vision blurred as he saw Dr. Varos unleash a canister of swirling toxins. The last thing he heard before consciousness slipped away was Sanchez's voice, raw with desperation. "Man down! Get the counselor to medbay!" Powell drifted in and out of awareness. Snippets of conversation filtered through the haze of pain and sedatives. Multiple systems, closing in on their position. Uncharted moon, Varos's biosignals. He jolted awake to find himself strapped to a metal slab, harsh lights beating down on him. A face swam into focus, gaunt, with cybernetic implants snaking across weathered skin. "Welcome back to the land of the living, counselor," Arkady Krent sneered, his augmented eyes gleaming with malice. "You're just in time to witness the dawn of a new era." Powell struggled against his restraints, mind racing. Krent, the Cerberus mastermind they'd thought long dead. "What have you done with Dr. Varos?" Powell demanded, his voice hoarse. Krent's laugh was cold and mechanical. "Your scientist is proving quite useful in refining our little project. Soon, the doomsday virus will purge the galaxy of alien filth. A thunderous explosion rocked the facility. Alarms blared as Krent's head snapped towards a bank of monitors. "Impossible," he snarled. "How did they find us?" Powell allowed himself a grim smile. "You underestimated my team, Krent. That's always been Cerberus's weakness." Chaos erupted as peacekeeper forces breached the compound. Powell heard the distinctive bark of Sanchez's weapon amid the firefight. Krent's enhanced prototypes engaged the attackers, their inhuman strength and speed a terrifying sight. Through the din of battle, Powell caught glimpses of Dr. Veros, her face streaked with grime as she worked furiously to sabotage virus containment units. A hulking Cerberus operative advanced on her position. Powell strained against his bonds, helpless to intervene. Sanchez appeared as if from nowhere, tackling the brute. They grappled in a blur of cybernetic enhancements and raw commitment. "Get the counselor," Sanchez roared to a nearby peacekeeper squad. "We'll hold them off." As plasma fire and breaking glass filled the air, Powell felt himself being cut free. He stumbled to his feet, supported by armored troopers. "The virus stocks," he began. "Neutralized," came Dr. Veros's terse reply as she joined them, clutching a datapad. "But Krentz escaped with the Cerberus loyalists, and he's taken the research data with him." Powell's heart sank as he was rushed towards an extraction point. They dealt Cerberus a blow, but at what cost? And what new horrors would Krent unleash with the stolen information? As their shuttle broke atmosphere, Powell's gaze was drawn to the planet's curvature. Somewhere out there, Croft's cabal was regrouping. The true battle was only beginning. Powell's eyes snapped open as the shuttle touched down on Providence's barren surface. The desolate landscape stretched before him, broken only by the looming silhouette of the Xenarchy temple complex. "Sanchez, what's our status?" he demanded, striding down the ramp. The commander's face was grim. "Strike force is in position. We've detected heavy Cerberus presence around the perimeter." "Then we move fast," Powell ordered. "Breach that compound and find out what Croft's endgame really is." As if on cue, plasma fire erupted from concealed positions. Sanchez's elite team sprang into action, their augmented reflexes a blur as they returned fire and advanced on the temple. Powell watched through tactical feeds as the strike force battled their way through waves of Cerberus supersoldiers. The defenders fought with inhuman strength and speed, their cybernetic enhancements pushing them beyond normal human limits. "We're through the outer defenses," Sanchez's voice crackled over the comm. "But sir, you need to see this." The feed switched to Sanchez's helmet cam. Powell's breath caught as he saw the massive alien structure dominating the temple's inner sanctum. Its surface pulsed with ethereal energy, defying human comprehension. "The Transcendence Engine," Dr. Veros breathed, her eyes wide as she studied the readouts. "It's real." A familiar figure stepped into view, flanked by robed Xenarchy cultists. Senator Elias Croft, the puppet master they'd been hunting for so long. "Welcome, Commander," Croft's voice rang out, amplified by the chamber's acoustics. "You're just in time to witness humanity's ascension." Sanchez raised his weapon. "It's over, Croft. Stand down." The senator's laugh echoed through the feed. "Oh, it's far from finished. In fact, it's only just beginning." With a gesture, Croft overrode the security lockouts. The alien artifact hummed to life, energy crackling along its surface. "No," Sanchez shouted, but it was too late. A blinding flash filled the screen. When it cleared, Powell watched in horror as a shockwave of mutagenic energy swept outward from the temple. Unshielded peacekeepers crumpled, their bodies twisting grotesquely. "Fall back!" Sanchez roared, his surviving team scrambling for their dropships. Powell's mind raced as reports flooded in from across human space. Millions transformed by the Transcendence Engine's power. Cybernetic implants erupting from flesh. Genetic code rewritten on a massive scale. "This is Admiral Corvan," a new transmission cut through the chaos. "All available ships, form up on my position. We're establishing a quarantine around the Tartarus system. Nothing gets in or out." As Cerberus warships engaged Corvan's blockade, Dr. Veros worked feverishly at her console. "I might have a lead," she announced. There's an isolated human tribe on FC-2845. Their genome could be the key to reversing this. Powell nodded, his face hardened. Then that's our next target. We find that tribe and pray it's enough to save humanity from Croft's madness. Outside the viewport, Providence's surface churned with transformation, a grotesque preview of the war now engulfing human space. The shuttle's engines thrummed as it descended through HFY's turbulent atmosphere. Commander Sanchez gripped the harness, his eyes fixed on the planet's untamed wilderness below. Towering trees and mist-shrouded peaks stretched to the horizon, a primordial landscape untouched by galactic civilization. 30 seconds to landing, the pilot's voice crackled over the comm. Sensors indicate humanoid activity 2 clicks north of the LZ. Sanchez nodded to his team. Remember, we're here for samples only. These people have never seen off-worlders. Let's not spook them. The shuttle touched down in a clearing. As the hatch hissed open, a wall of humid air hit them. Sanchez stepped onto alien soil, his enhanced senses alert for any threat. They moved through the dense foliage, following the faint trail of the Tarus tribe. Suddenly, a piercing war cry split the air. Primitive figures burst from the undergrowth, brandishing crude spears and clubs. "Hold fire!" Sanchez ordered as his team raised their weapons. A hulking warrior approached, intricate tattoos covering his muscled frame. His eyes blazed with suspicion as he regarded the strangers. "I am Audrin," he growled in halting galactic standard. "Why do sky people trespass on sacred land?" Sanchez lowered his weapon slowly. "We come seeking your help, Audrin. A great sickness threatens our people, your distant kin." Audrin's face twisted with disdain. "Weak off-worlders bring only corruption. Leave now or face Terra's wrath." "Please," Sanchez pressed, "we need but a small offering of your blood. It may hold the key to saving millions." For a tense moment, Sanchez thought Audrin might attack. Then the chieftain's shoulders slumped. "The ancestors speak of a time when all humans shared the stars," Audrin said quietly. "If Skykin truly suffer, Taurus will aid them." As Sanchez's team collected the precious samples, a priority transmission crackled through his neural link. Admiral Corvin's face materialized, his expression grim. "Sanchez, we're under heavy fire," Corvin reported. "Croft's forces have some kind of new weapon. They've breached—" The transmission cut out in a burst of static. Sanchez's blood ran cold as he turned to his team. "We've got what we came for," he barked. "Double time, back to the shuttle. The fleet needs us." They raced through the jungle, pursued by the eerie cries of HFY's alien fauna. As they neared the landing zone, a flash of movement caught Sanchez's eye. He spun, weapon raised, only to find Audrin standing there, flanked by his warriors. "Sky people go to war," the chieftain observed. "Taurus stand ready if you call." Sanchez nodded, a silent understanding passing between them. Then he was gone, the shuttle's engines roaring to life as they punched through the atmosphere. In the void of space, chaos reigned. Sanchez watched in horror as Corvin's flagship listed, venting atmosphere from multiple hull breaches. Cerberus warships swarmed like carrion birds, their weapons leaving trails of superheated plasma in the darkness. "This is Commander Sanchez to all Allied vessels," he broadcast on an encrypted channel. "Form up on my position. We're going in." As his strike team prepared for a desperate boarding action, Dr. Varos's face appeared on the main view screen. Her eyes were alight with scientific fervor. "Commander, the Tarus samples, they're incredible," she exclaimed. "Their immune system could be the key to reversing the transcendence mutations. But I'll need more data on the artifact's energy signature to synthesize an effective countermeasure." Sanchez's eyes hardened as he weighed his options. He knew what had to be done. "Understood, Doctor," he replied. "I'm going in alone. Be ready to receive telemetry from my suit." Before anyone could object, Sanchez was in the airlock. He took a deep breath, checking the seal on his armor one last time. "See you on the other side," he muttered. The airlock cycled. Sanchez hurtled into the void, propelled towards the shattered ruins of Providence. Corvin's flagship, his suit's thrusters straining against the vacuum. Plasma bolts seared past him as he dodged debris and incoming fire. With practiced precision, Sanchez latched onto the hull near a gaping breach. Inside, chaos reigned. Fires raged unchecked as emergency bulkheads struggled to contain decompression. Sanchez fought his way through twisted corridors, his suit's sensors feeding constant data to Dr. Varos. "I'm approaching the engine core," he reported, voice tight. "Massive energy readings. This has to be it." He rounded a corner and froze. The Transcendence engine pulsed before him, reality warping around its crystalline structure. Croft stood at a control panel, eyes wild with triumph. "You're too late, Commander," the senator sneered. "Humanity's ascension is at hand." Sanchez lunged forward, but a wave of energy erupted from the device. Pain lanced through every nerve as his body began to twist and change. Through sheer force of will, he activated his suit's emergency protocols. The world went white. Sanchez jolted awake, gasping. The sterile walls of a medical bay greeted him. Dr. Varus's face swam into focus, etched with concern and exhaustion. "Welcome back," she said softly. "You've been out for weeks." He tried to sit up, wincing at the stiffness in his limbs. "The engine, Croft?" "Neutralized," Varos replied. "Your suit's data was the key. We created a countermeasure." She filled him in on the aftermath, the containment efforts, Croft's capture, the political fallout. Sanchez listened in grim silence, processing the magnitude of what had transpired. "There's more," Varos added, her eyes alight with scientific wonder. "The device, its origins. You won't believe what we found." Before she could elaborate, the door slid open. Counselor Powell entered, leaning heavily on a cane. "They need us in the war room," Powell stated. "It seems our work is far from finished." Sanchez nodded, pushing himself to his feet. The galaxy had changed, but the fight to protect it remained. As they left the medical bay, alarms began to blare. Another crisis loomed, and humanity's guardians answered the call once more. The alarms blared as Sanchez, Powell, and Dr. Varos rushed to the war room. Screens flickered to life, displaying a galaxy in chaos. Counselor Tivos's hologram materialized, her eyes wide with urgency. "We've made a discovery," she announced, her voice taut. "The Transcendence engine, it's of human origin." Silence fell over the room. Sanchez's mind reeled, struggling to process the implications. "Impossible," Powell muttered. But the evidence scrolled across the screens. Indisputable proof that humanity's ancestors had created the very artifact that now threatened galactic civilization. Before they could fully grasp the revelation, reports flooded in from across human space. Xenarchy splinter cells, emboldened by Croft's rhetoric, launched coordinated attacks on multiple colonies. Footage showed mutated humans, their bodies twisted by hasty genetic modifications, overwhelming guard outposts. "They're using Cerberus tech," Sanchez observed, watching transphasic teleportation drives bypass defensive screens. "How did they—" His question was cut short as the war room's blast doors slammed shut. Security feeds showed the courthouse under attack. Powell's eyes widened in recognition. "The tribunal," he breathed. "We have to—" The feed cut to static. When it returned, the courtroom was in ruins. Powell lay motionless, shielding Dr. Novak from a particle weapon's aftermath. Her voice crackled through the calm, weak but determined. "Counsel, warn them!" Sanchez's fist clenched as the full scope of the crisis unfolded. Across the core worlds, panic spread like wildfire. The council convened an emergency session, their faces grim as they debated humanity's fate. "The hardliners are pushing for extreme measures," Tivos reported. "They're calling for purges." Before Sanchez could respond, a priority alert flashed on his neural link. Dr. Varos's face appeared, her lab on Demaria visible in the background. "Commander, we're under attack," she said, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. "I need extraction. The cure—" Her words were drowned out by the sound of tearing metal. Sanchez barked orders, coordinating a rescue operation even as reports of more colonies falling to the Xenarchy insurrection poured in. The war room's main display lit up with a nightmarish sight. Demaria's surface blazed as biochemical nuclear weapons rained down, authorized by a desperate council. Sanchez watched in horror as the colony was consumed, billions of lives snuffed out in an instant. His neural link chirped. Dr. Varos's battered face appeared once more. "We made it," she said, her voice hoarse. "But the cure, it's gone." Sanchez nodded grimly, knowing the true cost of their narrow escape. As Varos's ship docked, he turned back to the tactical displays. The war had entered a new phase of brutality, with atrocities mounting on all sides. Reports flooded in of Xenarchy terror attacks, council bombardments, and entire populations forcibly relocated. Sanchez coordinated what defenses he could, but it felt like trying to hold back a tide with his bare hands. Then came the alert that changed everything. The Transcendence engine was overloading, its unstable energy building to catastrophic levels. Sanchez's mind raced, recalling Dr. Varos's work on an anti-ascension vector. "We need to create an ionic barrier," he ordered, transmitting the necessary data. "It's our only chance." As the mutagenic shockwave erupted from Providence, Sanchez watched the barrier flicker to life around the core worlds. Beyond its protective embrace, countless systems vanished from the galactic map, consumed by the cosmic transformation. In the aftermath, Sanchez stood before the remnants of the council. Dr. Novak, her face haggard from grief and exhaustion, spoke for humanity. "We offer our expertise," she said, her voice steady despite the weight of accusation in the room, "to help rebuild, to find a cure." Silence fell as the counselors deliberated. Sanchez's hand rested on his sidearm, acutely aware of the fragile peace that hung in the balance. As they waited for the galaxy's judgment, one thing was clear. The road ahead would reshape civilization itself.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.